What do you think of this? So you have boys and girls.
I do, and I don't think there's any winners in this conversation. I don't think the fact that we're talking about it and it's such a big issue, we all lose this way. One, from parents not taking proper care of their children, to children not having anywhere to turn, to good parents just wanting to make sure in a bad situation their children have all the information that they have. And so I look at it more from a parental rights issue, and if you have your child and they're going to the doctor, you want to know.
Right.
I want to know when my children go to the doctor. I want to be, from the time they're born, I still want to know. And my son's 25. I mean, it's humiliating for him. What are you going to the doctor for? And it's one of those things that, my children are fortunate that I've been involved and I care about them. And there are those kids out there that don't have that opportunity. But some adult needs to know, going in, have the opportunity to talk to children before they make a life-altering decision such as abortion. And when you go back to the parental rights side of it, my kids, they couldn't get tubes in their ears without me being there. They can't take an aspirin at school. And you've heard you've heard all these situations before. I mean, we hear about it, we talk about it, but when it comes to abortion, it's an invasive procedure, and someone should know, and it should be the parent, by all accounts, that should know if that's happening. Now, there's always going to be those unique situations where there's incest or there's someone in the family. We see it all the time, but there are, just as much as that weighs heavy on you, it weighs heavy on me that there's those good parents, that their kids are scared, maybe are talking to kids that don't have good parents, that are going to make a decision that their parents should be involved with.
Well, sex is an invasive procedure as well.
Yes, it is.
As I remember. It is as well. And you don't have to get a permission slip to have sex when you're 14 or 13 or 16.
So you're going to compare sex and an invasive surgery as
one of them
paired.
comes from the other.
Right, but you're comparing apples to oranges. I mean,
No, I think they all come in the same basket, or at least one of them comes in the basket from the other one.
Right.
And so,
no, I understand what you're saying,
and that is a life-altering thing too, and we
Right.
don't have a permission slip for that. I mean, it is just, it's really, really complicated, and I think you have to basically put your children in a kennel. Sorry, and keep them there until they're of age. It's because there is so much out there, and right now in the state of Alaska, you have to have your parents' permission to get your ears pierced. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there are girls at slumber parties piercing each other's ears with safety pins, and you're smiling. Were you at that slumber party?
I wasn't,
I've been at that slumber
of
party.
it.
I wasn't either.
Really?
Thank goodness.
Bob, if you want to get
The
your
lot
ears pierced,
started.
I will sign for you. But I mean, but there are girls that get ear infections from trying to do it themselves. And I think at the end of the day, what we all want to see is that the choices that our kids make from the get-go are healthy. In the case that they've made a mistake, that they're also allowed to be healthy, whatever that, to whatever capacity that is. And there has to be more conversations about this. There have to be people that are willing to talk to each other and not put, and I'm willing to go under this banner. I'm anti-abortion. I don't know if, and I'm sure you guys are all unable to go under that. Right, and that's my point, is that we all have to be under the same banner of that, and then figure out what
Shannyn,
it's going to take.
Can I say something that
Please.
you just touched on that makes sense, is that if you're going to have a bill like this, then what you're also looking for is, where are the other pieces in the equation? And so it's not as simple as just saying, okay, we're going to require this and therefore resolve the problem. That there's education. Our young men, I have a young boy, and believe me, it's changed my perspective of how I view things. It's the education, it's the resources that are available to young people when they start making the decision to have sex. The pregnancy comes, later down the way, and so perhaps that's the conversation to bring back, is that if you're going to have this legislation, where are the other components that come into really addressing and having a meaningful conversation at the legislative level, not one designed for a yes or no election year,
Right.
answer, but one that really talks about what's going on in our state. And we have very high teen pregnancy rates in this state, and it's
we
a
also
big
have
problem.
the highest incest.
And we have a highest incest.
So these things need to be addressed, and not just a way that helps get people elected.
Right.
It really has to be a way to actually help people not go through these sort of situations that are devastating, that are just devastating on a lot of levels. We got to run to a break, and then we're coming back with Bob Lynn, because he has something to say. And we have lots more topics. There's not just this. Believe it or not, there's other legislation coming up in Juneau. So we're going to be talking about that when we come back with more Up North.
turning in your head.
Oh, for the love of Pete. If you even knew what you missed on the breaks here, they're great. You'll have to come down here to Bernie's and be part of our live audience. And then you'll know. It's a shirts optional break. That's what we do here. I know now you really want to come. Send an email to moreupnorth@gmail.com and you can get your own tickets. Okay, so my guests here, it's the red panel, the Republican panel tonight. Senator Liesl McGuire on the end down there, she's my representative. Yes. Bob Lynn, District 31 representative, and Representative Sharice Millett from District 30, also known as North Girdwood. South Anchorage. So Bob, before we went to the break, you had something you wanted to say that was absolutely mind-blowing.
Absolutely. Well, no, the conversation we had earlier about pro-choice, pro-life, parental consent, and so on, and that's very interesting. I like much of what was said, but somebody said, it may have been you, that this is all very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. It's not complicated at all. Either you permit somebody to abort a child or you do not. There's nothing complicated about that. And parental responsibility. Parents should have responsibility for their kids. They can't do that unless the kids share with their parents. Now, you say, well, the law can't do that. Well, the law, we have laws against burglary, robbery, rape, and so on. That does not eliminate all those things. But you wouldn't want to do away with the law, would you? No, the law's not perfect. But these are really not complicated issues. Either
but can you lock up parents? Can you lock up parents for not talking to their children or having open lines of communication?
I've thought about it a couple of times.
I know, but it's a really, and it's interesting because you're the party of conservatism and I'm the party of liberalism, yet I consider that to be really big government, to be able to tell parents what they have to, or families, the communications that they need to have. It seems like really a pretty big government, and so far as I know, abortion, though we've all agreed it's a horrible thing that happens. It's been happening since people got pregnant.
I'm not sure everybody agrees. I think some people actually are in favor of it. Nobody here.
I don't know people that are. I'm sure you're right. There are people that are for all kinds of things,
right.
Like they wish they could marry their goat. There's all sorts of things that you could find somebody that's in favor of. This isn't that thing. I think as a society we can agree on that. So until you can make people love their children and legislate that. Right now it's illegal to not send your kids to school, not feed them, not provide for them, but it's not illegal to not love your child. But how damaging is that? So until we can make people do that, and I don't think none of us ever want a government that's able to make you do that. So anyway, we're switching topics, Bob.
Okay, thank you. But none of this is complicated.
Well, I'm glad it's so cut and dried for you. It's awkward. And you know what? The fact is, you're the only person here without a uterus, and maybe that's why it's less complicated.
I'm proud of it.
And proud of it. Do we have, somebody has Venus envy? Okay. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a couple things. One is that Liesl McGuire, you've been in the news. All for all the right reasons, in my opinion, because the right wing is upset with you. How's that working for you?
Well, it's interesting. It's actually, I haven't received any negative response at all from people.
And let me just give some backup. You went on a trip that was state-sponsored.
Yep.
You and the best Bill to ever go to Juneau, Bill Wielechowski, senator from the east side. You went to South Africa to go and tour a plant there, an LNG.
And take a course.
And take a course on LNG there. During apartheid, there was an oil embargo, and it was pretty effective against South Africa. And they decided that since there was an oil embargo, they would go crazy and develop their own resources. Yep. And they did.
Yep.
And they did it very well. And we have a lot of hypothermia research that was done during the Holocaust that helps Alaskans. And right now, what happened under apartheid, there was a study done there, and there was a process that was worked out that we could benefit from as well. So you and Senator Wielechowski, both on resources,
yes,
went and toured this. Now there has been a fit thrown by the right-wingers that basically says that you guys were over there laying by the pool, and what were they drinking, and what were they carrying on about? And this isn't,
very disrespectful. If I can just say that I heard the news broadcast, I've since heard it, and very disrespectful. Bill and I co-chair the Resources Committee, and Through conversations with our leadership, we decided to go to the place on the earth that has the best technology and the best training and expertise in Fischer-Tropsch technology, because it's something that we'd like to pursue in our state. And you'll continue to see more about this. It's an opportunity for Alaska. The idea that Bill and I would go there and lay on a beach or any of this is absolutely absurd. It was an intense course, and I can tell you that both of us, reflecting yesterday, were saying, wow, I wish they could have really seen what it looked like, because we flew 36 hours, arrived, and woke up the next morning at 8 a.m. to sit next to petroleum engineers and heads of companies around the world to learn about how this technology is revolutionizing the energy industry. So I think